FM 107.5 and 1070 The Fan.
And so many of the elite level players get injured. What the hell? Seriously. I'm just about tired of it. About tired of it. Yeah, I am not, and I will not go all schlep rock on you today. I'm just not going to do it. I am not going to do it. Listen, it sucks. It sucks beyond belief, but I am not going all schlep rock on, oh, woe is us, and then why. Seriously, I'm not. It is going to be a challenge for 35 games if what I believe to be true, and they continue to go after it. There are a variety right now. A variety of variables that are floating around, opinions that are floating around about what this team is going to do. And obviously, it's all connected to the season-ending injury last night suffered near the end of the second quarter to Pacers star Victor Oladipo. And again, let me reiterate, it sucks. Yeah, we've been through it, right? The Manning neck, the Luck saga, Paul George snap stick. All through it. But I'm not going slap rock on you. I'm not. Still got some options. You are, right now, you're 17 games above 500. I don't know. You're still going to make the postseason. But how you go about getting into the postseason is what is going to be interesting. Before we get to that, we'll talk about Victor Oladipo as well. What's going to be interesting about that is the road to recovery. Listen, I am no doctor. I'm surrounded by many with the ATI. I'm going to get Brad Howe to call in here a little bit later on. We have the ATI guys during the football season in here every Thursday. And it's not like I know anything, but I lean on these guys for knowledge about injuries like this. And Brad was keeping me updated about what was going on last night. Learned this morning that it was indeed a ruptured tendon in the right quad, or ruptured quad tendon in his right knee. And it was described as a long and tough road to recovery, especially for an athlete that is just built on that alone. I mean, built on utilizing just an elite level of athleticism. We'll talk about that with Brad coming up here later on. I'm going to call him in the 3 o'clock hour at some point and get a little lowdown on that. Darren Collison's going to join us coming up at 4:30 today. Darren Collison, teammate, Victor Oladipo. Darren Collison, I'm going to ask him a lot of questions about, all right, what do you do moving forward? This team has been 7-4 this season without Victor Oladipo. This team a year ago was winless without Victor Oladipo. So that alone would show you it has made strides. However, you have one, I think, current playoff team in the mix of those games where the Pacers without Oladipo had gone 7-4. I want to say that was the Utah game. I think is Utah back in the top 8 out west? I think that was a Utah game that we're thinking of here. At any rate, we'll talk to Darren Collison about that. Talk to Darren Collison about last night. Last night was supposed to be a good night. I mean, you finally get the Raptors at home, and you still win, and I still dislike the Raptors a great deal, and this crap happens. I mean, really, at a difficult time of year. What do you do if you're Kevin Prichard right now? I think I know what Kevin Prichard is going to do as far as those of you that suggest that they need to be sellers prior to the trade deadline as opposed to continuing down the path to try to win games, see what they can do. Somebody asked him that last night on Twitter. His response was never when talking about tanking. Now, there's a lot of different ways you could obviously describe it, but you're 17 games over 500 right now. You're what, in the 3-hole in the Eastern Conference? I mean, how many more games would you have to win at the minimum just to make it into the top 8? I'm not looking at that. Honestly, I expect this team to win some games. I mean, you obviously take the ceiling away from your expectation, or in this case, lower the ceiling of where you thought it was going to be. But, I mean, I expect these guys still to win some games. Here's exactly what I expect. Like a lot of people are talking about, okay, what are the options right here? And immediately everybody brings up Carmelo Anthony. To a degree, I get it, and here's why. Because you don't have to get anything up. I mean, once he is just basically released by the Bulls, you don't have to give anything up. But no. And I mean no, and I mean no. Kevin Love is brought up next. Right? Kevin Love hasn't played. Sore big toe hasn't played the entire season. What about him? That would be, I guess, if you figure out by the trade deadline that nothing is going to work. This is all going haywire and downhill. And, maybe I don't see that happening either. Mike Conley Jr. down in Memphis. It was made known that both of those longtime cornerstones within the Grizzlies organization are now in the open market. Reportedly for the first time ever. Marc Gasol, the big man, and former Lawrence North standout, Mike Conley Jr. Mike Conley Jr. makes upwards of, $30-some million, so that's not happening either. I mean, to me, if you're going to look, there's a couple of things here. I mean, you look for something that may help you out just in a short term. I mean, nothing longer term. I think people have utilized, hey, you don't panic. I don't expect Kevin Prichard to go out there and panic, right? I mean, remember what he was stuck with Paul George here. Didn't panic there. I mean, we thought he had zero options, and he parlayed that into something I think everybody around here absolutely loves and will be known moving forward as, I'm sure, one of the greatest trades in the history of this professional market. So I'm not worried about any type of panic. I just see them trying to add, and I don't know, a trade on a lower level maybe. I mean, I'll throw some names out at you. I did Drop Off Line Sports this morning and lobbed some names out there, and it's nothing really that's going to curl your hair. It's not. And nothing great out there, nothing thrilling out there. The other observation that you have to make here is somewhat similar to what they did with Trevor Booker, if you remember a year ago. His contract was bought out, and they brought him in. That's what happens prior to the trade deadline. Around the trade deadline, you have teams decide to buy out players. They leave, go onto the open market, and maybe all of a sudden there is some interest from the Pacers. That is more along the lines for me, and that's not tanking. And it's not throwing and panicking and throwing everything out and going for it right now. I think it's just trying to utilize what you have while mixing in something else. And this is kind of funny. These are the types of names that I was thinking about, and I was tossing it around earlier on Drop Off Line Sports and mentioned this with Tony. Like Wayne Ellington, for example. Now, Wayne Ellington is languishing on the end of the Miami Heat bench right now, 31 years old. I mean, there's nothing, again, that's going to thrill anybody. What he does do is he does something that this team doesn't do that great. This team doesn't do that well when he's given the opportunity, and he shoots the three. I mean, that's kind of along the lines in which I'm thinking about right now. And I brought up names this morning with, I think, Wayne Ellington, Terrence Ross. I think I brought up Kent Bazemore, but he's been dinged up, and I think he's got another year left on his contract. They're dangling Bazemore and Taurean Prince in Atlanta. Some people have brought up Wesley Matthews, but he's got $18 million in his final year of that. He's probably going to be a huge chip for the Mavericks to play. So none of that really sounds good. I mean, you guys have brought up Jordan Clarkson to me. You brought up Rodney Hood to me. Not a great deal makes sense via the trade route. However, you might find something that works, again, when you can just simply go out and sign them. When you can just go out and say, hey, okay, you get your contract. You had a buyout, and you bring them in and see if they work. I mean, there is nothing that is going to mirror what you lose in Victor Oladipo. You can add a little bit more, and at the very least, try to close the gap that this team did help close, going 7-4 without him in 18 and 19 so far, or I should say at the end of 2018, compared to what they did a year ago in going an 0 without him. So they closed the gap this year. Maybe you close the gap a little further in his absence because of injury with somebody somehow, some way that can do something that maybe you don't do, like shooting the three, for example. There's going to be no magic formula here. There's going to be no potion is going to work. But I don't expect Kevin Prichard to just sit on his hands and sit idly by. I don't expect him to say, hey, it's okay in losing. There's a lot of things riding. I'm telling you, you got 5 one-year deals, 5 expiring deals. You know, you were thinking build around Victor Oladipo in the years to come. I mean, the offseason should be interesting because everybody believes Victor Oladipo to fight back and, you know, to regain that elite level of athleticism, but it has robbed athletes from what we hear of that prior. It's not set in stone. With his work ethic, that's what's expected, right? But it's not set in stone. So offseason should be interesting. Because you're thinking, hey, one of the bigger bargaining chips you have around here is you can help build around guys like Vic, help build around guys like Miles, guys like Domas, and move forward with it. And now that kind of brings that into question. Maybe more question than what we're handling compared to what is going on with Prichard and Buchanan and the man with 2 brains. Maybe. But that's where I am right now. I think they're going to continue to go at it. Going to continue to go after it. I think absolutely the last thing they're thinking about is being sellers. Now, at the very end of it, if they come out here beginning Saturday night and circle the drain, don't look good at all. Memphis, you come back against Golden State. I mean, certainly you have some challenges here. Maybe your thought process changes, but I would doubt it. I think they're going to continue to go at it as they've gone at it. So you ask me what is going on at the present time. Well, present time is this. Tyreke Evans is going to be thrust into the starting lineup, and a lot of you are going to get that wish. A lot of you have wished, not with this in mind, not with this happening, but you have wished to see more of Aaron Holiday. You're going to see a hell of a lot more now in the rotation of Aaron Holiday. So you're going to see Evans as a starter. Evans is going to have a full-scale opportunity. Seriously? To put to bed any type of conversation that, you know, he should not deserve a longer-term deal someplace. Because really, up until the past, 4 or 5 games, that has been a question, right? And not just around here, but everywhere. Okay, where does it go? This guy's on a 1-year deal. Where does it go after this? I mean, he has a hell of an opportunity right now. I mean, really, when you look at it, these guys, maybe with the exception of Kyle O'Quinn, just because of the position and because he backs up the big guys, maybe he's not going to be able to show it. But, I mean, you're talking about a bunch of 1-year guys here that are really going to be able to show it. Thad already has. I mean, of the 5 guys we considered yesterday, right? As of yesterday, we thought Thad absolutely, Bojan absolutely, Corey Joseph absolutely. 3 of those 5 absolutes coming back. And then you kind of wonder about Collison and his future. By the way, Darren's going to join us at 4:30. And you wondered about Tyreke Evans. Now, Evans has a hell of an opportunity, as does Aaron Holiday. It is not going to be the same, and nobody's suggesting that it is. But it's not putting your hands up in the air and whining and crying and slep-rocking away like the world is over. It's not. That's how we're going to look at it until this team proves differently. And maybe they do. Maybe they do. But I'm going to lean a little bit on the 7-4 we have seen so far, with even a more daunting schedule in these final 35. You're talking a lot of playoff caliber, upper echelon teams in the mix here. But you'll see what happens. Honestly, if you're asking me what I'm more concerned about right now, if I'm more concerned about how this team is going to represent through the final 35 of the regular season, or, timetable and how Vic is going to return, the Vic thing does kind of worry me a little bit. It does. And hopefully Brad Howell of ATI can talk me off the ledge a little bit. That does worry. And I'm not worried about the guy not working his ass off, because that's just how he's built. That's what he's going to do. But that is a tough injury right there. That is a tough injury when a lot of what you do is predicated on your level of athleticism. And this guy's going to work night and day on it. But that sucked. And I am not going to sit around here all day and whine and cry about, oh, woe is Indianapolis. Look what happened here with the quarterbacks. Look what happened here with the basketball players. Not going to do it. So we'll talk about your thoughts today. We'll talk about the Pacers moving forward, what you would like to see this team do as far as the future, what you expect this team to do as far as the future, and I'll throw out some options there. And again, this is just me spitballing. I don't know